My name is Eleanor Vance. I'm 58 years old, and I am standing in the fragrant warmth of my own bakery while my son Leo frosts a three-tiered wedding cake. 6 months ago, I was sitting in a sterile hospital waiting room, the picture of a concerned wife, while doctors worked to surgically separate my husband from my daughter-in-law. My phone buzzes. It's a text from my lawyer. Vance Construction assets successfully transferred. The final settlement is complete. I smile into a cloud of powdered sugar, savoring the moment. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about bitter betrayals and even sweeter revenge. Growing up in the shadow of my husband, Richard, was like tending a garden in a perpetual drought. He was the sun, the rain, the entire weather system in our 30-year marriage, and I was expected to simply bloom on command. Our son, Leo, was my world, and when he brought home Isabella, she seemed like a perfect addition to our family, beautiful, charming, and utterly devoted to him. Our sprawling home in the suburbs of Chicago was Richard's kingdom, built, ironically, with the inheritance my parents left me. He never let me forget it. "Eleanor, your family's money gave us a foundation," he'd say at dinner parties, "but my genius built the skyscraper." My contributions were dismissed as hobbies. My passion for baking, the intricate cakes and pastries I spent hours perfecting, was just a cute little pastime to keep me busy while he did the real work of running Vance Construction. Isabella, my daughter-in-law, initially seemed like my only ally. "Eleanor, you should open your own shop. These croissants are better than anything in Paris," she'd gush. But soon her compliments began to carry a subtle poison, echoing Richard's condescension. "It's so wonderful you have this little hobby, Eleanor. It must be so relaxing to not have the pressures of a real career." The soundtrack of my life became a duet of dismissal. Every family dinner revolved around Richard's latest business deal or Isabella's brilliant marketing ideas for the company, ideas she and Richard seemed to be spending an inordinate amount of time developing together. Isabella is a shark, a real killer instinct. She reminds me of myself at her age. Richard would boom, while Leo, my hard-working, gentle son, would just smile, proud of his wife and blind to the vipers in his own home. The late-night strategy sessions between Richard and Isabella became more frequent. Leo was often sent on out-of-town business trips to scout new expansion opportunities, leaving the two of them with the house to themselves. It was after one of these trips that I found it. I was looking for a tax document on the shared family computer when I saw a folder, carelessly left on the desktop, labeled Project Nightingale. My heart hammered against my ribs. Inside wasn't a business plan.
Emails
It
detailed
was
their affair
their
in
plan.
sickening detail, complete with photos taken in our home, in my bed. But the real betrayal lay deeper. Subfolders contained scanned legal documents, a systematic plot to bleed Vance Construction dry. They had formed a new secret LLC in their names and were using fraudulent invoices and shell corporations to transfer all the company's assets, preparing to bankrupt the original business and leave me and Leo with nothing but debt and ruin. They were stealing our son's future and my entire life's investment. That night, after scrubbing my hands raw, I made a promise to myself in the sterile silence of my kitchen. I would not cry. I would not scream. I would bake. And I would plot. For weeks, I played the part of the blissfully ignorant wife. I smiled at Richard's boasts, complimented Isabella's new dress, and listened to their lies while gathering my own evidence. I made copies of every fraudulent document, every salacious email. Richard had always complained of a bad back, a convenient excuse for the daybed in his home office. In the drawer of his desk, he kept a bottle of expensive, medical-grade lubricant. He'd made a crude joke about it once, saying it was essential for a man with his stamina. One Tuesday, while he was at a golf outing and Isabella was supposedly at a yoga retreat, I made my move. I carefully emptied the lubricant bottle and refilled it with a high-strength industrial adhesive, a clear, viscous superglue used in construction that I'd ordered online. It was a perfect match. I placed the bottle back in the drawer exactly as I had found it. The trap was set. The following Thursday, Leo was sent to a 2-day conference in Michigan. That evening, Richard announced he had a mountain of paperwork and would be working late in his office. An hour later, Isabella called me, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Oh, Eleanor, my aunt just had a fall. I'm going to have to stay the night with her. Don't wait up for me." "Of course, dear. I hope she's all right." I cooed, hanging up the phone as my heart turned to ice. I waited in the kitchen, the low hum of the refrigerator the only sound. At around 11 p.m., I heard it. A muffled shout from the office, then a shriek of pain, followed by frantic, terrified sobbing. The performance of my life began. I rushed to the office door, pretending to be awakened by the noise. "Richard, is everything all right?" I roared, my voice tight with panic. "Everything is fine." But it wasn't fine. I could hear Isabella's hysterical cries. "It won't move! Oh my God, Richard, it's burning!" I leaned against the door, my expression a carefully crafted mask of worry. "I'm calling for help," I said, my voice trembling convincingly. I dialed 911. "My husband, I think he's having a heart attack, and my daughter-in-law is in there with him. She sounds like she's hurt." Within minutes, the quiet suburban street was bathed in the flashing red and blue lights of an ambulance and a fire truck. I'd unlocked the front door and now stood on the porch as neighbors poked their heads out of their windows. The paramedics had to break down the office
better
door.
than I could have ever imagined. They were brought out on a single gurney, hopelessly fused together in the most undignified position imaginable, a single, thin sheet failing to cover their shame. As they were maneuvered down the front steps, the sheet slipped. The entire neighborhood saw. The collective gasp was audible. One of the firefighters, a woman with kind but weary eyes, pulled me aside. "Ma'am," she said gently, "you should know, we saw extensive bruising on the young woman's arms. It looked like she was trying to push him away." The abusive, coercive nature of their affair was laid bare for all to see. The aftermath was a glorious, controlled explosion. While the hospital performed the painful, skin-grafting procedure to separate them, the story spread like wildfire. I filed for divorce the next morning, my lawyer armed with the financial documents, the sordid emails, and a dozen witness statements from our neighbors. When Leo returned, I sat him down and told him everything, laying out the evidence of both the affair and the financial treason. The color drained from his face, his heartbreak swiftly turning to a righteous fury I had never seen in him before. The fight went out of Richard and Isabella. Faced with irrefutable proof of massive financial fraud and the utter humiliation of their public exposure, they crumbled. Richard lost everything. The company was dissolved, with all legitimate assets transferred to a new corporation under my and Leo's names. He faced jail time for fraud. Isabella was not only divorced by Leo, but was also named in the civil suit. She became a pariah, a town joke with a reputation she could never escape. 6 months later, the massive, cold house is sold. In its place is The Rising, my beautiful, sun-drenched bakery. It's more successful than I ever dreamed. The scent of fresh bread has replaced the stench of betrayal. My son Leo is here by my side, not as a subordinate in his father's shadow, but as my partner. His laughter is the new soundtrack of my life. I look at the wedding cake he's finishing, a testament to a love that is honest and true. I had thought the ultimate victory would be the look of horror on their faces, but the real triumph wasn't their downfall. It was my ascent. It was in the daily act of kneading dough, of creating something beautiful from simple ingredients, of building a new legacy, not from inheritance or a man's permission, but with my own 2 hands. Success wasn't just the best revenge, it was my salvation. My name is Eleanor.